What's up guys? Snoop here. Thank you so much for joining me for this YouTube episode. I'm super excited about this one because I'm doing something a little different. I'm actually doing a book review on a few different books that are interesting to me. So I am a big reader. I actually have not gotten as much time here as of late, to read as much as I would like to. And I'm the type of person that I actually read books over and over. I read them a couple of times, 2 or 3 times, because guess what? I have a really bad short-term memory and a lot of times I forget things, okay? But I want to share with you guys some of my favorite books. And a lot of times people are always asking me like, hey Snoop, what books do you recommend? What should I read? And it doesn't necessarily have to all be about business, right? We need some downtime sometimes. Sometimes we just need to read something that's funny or something that we can relate to, or maybe something that we enjoy growing up, and we reread it again like the coldest winter ever, or something like that. So I've got a few different books that I want to share with you guys that I've had the opportunity to read over the past couple of years that I would love to recommend for you, okay? The first book that I want to talk about is How to Win Friends and Influence People. This is a book by Dale Carnegie. Almost any list that you look at, when you look at like the top books to read, this book is going to be on it, okay? And what this book does, teaches you how to be a good conversationalist. It teaches you how to get along with people. It teaches you how to influence others, but not have a target on your back. So many different things that this book is going to teach you to do. And it's a quick little easy read. This book is it's not even 300 pages, so it's 200 and something pages. And even if it being, really short, you know what I'm saying? It's a small book. So even at 200 and something pages, for example, some of the different chapters in this book, part 1, fundamental techniques in handling people. So it's going to teach you different ways of how to talk to people, how to deal with people, how to get the most out of individuals. All right. Part 2 is 6 ways to make people like you. Right. So different things that you should do to make a first impression, different things that you can do at meetings, how to interest people, how to keep people's attention, right? Okay. And then part 3, how to win people to your way of thinking. All right. So it's going to talk to you about different ways to argue, right? And so you can't win an argument with people, but how to do that in a way where you still get what you want out of the situation, right? It's going to teach you a little bit about what it is that everybody wants, okay? What does everybody want in their way of thinking and their way of communicating, so that you understand that and you can get what it is that you want out of others, all right? Part 4, be a leader, how to change people without giving offense or arousing resentment. This one is really important, and honestly, this is a book that's not just for business, but it's for personal as well. All right, and so this book has been around for so long, guys, and it continues to make the top 10 book list. So this is definitely one that you've got to get. So another business book, the EMyth Revisited. So there's actually 2 different versions of these. You've got the EMyth and then the EMyth Revisited. This is a book by Michael Gerber. It's listed as one of the world's #1 small business books. Michael Gerber is a really big small business guru. And this actually was probably like one of the first business books that I ever read. And it kind of gives you a lot of tips on why 80% of businesses fail, okay? And it's going to break it down to you. It's going to show you the different roles that you play when it comes to your small business. First of all, it's going to show you how you actually have a small business and how you be a business owner versus being self-employed. Because there's 2 different things, right? So a business owner actually has a business that continues to make money whether he or she works or not. Somebody that's self-employed, they've got their own streams of income, but they've got to get up and they've got to work every day. Otherwise, they don't bring in any income. So this is the systems book. This book is going to teach you what systems you need to put in place so that you can be a small business owner versus being self-employed. All right. It's also going to teach you about the three roles that you play in business. So the first role is the entrepreneur. That's the dreamer. That's the person that comes up with the ideas, right? Then you've got the manager. The manager is the person that actually makes sure that these things are executed properly. And then you've got the technician. The technician is the person that works really hard to make sure that these things get done. And most of us, we actually start off as technicians, right? So we start off and we feel like we do something that's really, really well. So maybe you've picked up a skill in photography and you were working for a company doing this, but you realize, hey, I'm so good at doing this, I can work for myself, right? So you go from a technician to an entrepreneur. So we see how that works. So it talks about that. It talks about the various stages of business and so many more things. And it also teaches you, most importantly, how to put systems in place so that you don't become a slave to your business. So this is a really, really good one, guys. Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. This is actually a book that I read at the very beginning of the pandemic. And when I tell you guys, I could not take my hands off this. So Shoe Dog is a memoir by the creator of Nike. Hey, what's up, y'all? WhoIsSnoop here, and I'm here to tell you guys about an investment that I've been making over the past 3 years. I put together the blueprint for you so that you can do the same thing. Look, guys, I found an industry that requires little to no experience, minimal liability, low staff. I think just hearing those three things, you're probably already like, what is it, Snoop? The salon suite industry. All right, so what I've done, I've actually invested in 3 salon suites myself. I've franchised them, and I've put together a blueprint to help you overcome some of the same mistakes that I make when it comes to construction, finding the right location, design. All of these issues will be very minimal once you take this course. So go ahead and click the link below or go to courses.whoissnoop.com. Which was Phil Knight. So it talks about Phil Knight and how he got Nike off the ground and how he went many years without being successful. And it talks about all of the other shoe companies that were out there first. So Nike was not the first to do it, right? But it talks about the millions of dollars that Phil Knight was able to make. It talks about why he took his company public. And even well before then, you know, him going overseas and meeting different manufacturers, how he came up with his logo and where this sign came from, how he started signing athletes to actually take his brand to a different place. I mean, this was such an amazing book, and it taught me so much about business. And actually, just sitting here reminiscing, I'm probably going to read this one again, right? This is definitely one of these books that you can kind of read, like, you know, once every few years, because it's really a good one. The next 2 books are just, you know, kind of some good fun reads, but you still may learn some things that could be applicable in business world or personal world. All right, so The Invisible Life is a book by one of my favorite authors, Lynn Harris. So Lynn Harris, rest his soul, is no longer with us. He has written, oh man, so many books, and I'm actually looking over at my bookshelf right now because I have quite a few of them, but I would say, I mean, at least 15 novels that I can probably name that Lynn Harris has written. But if you want to start reading his books, the very first book is called The Invisible Life. And what it talks about is, you know, back in the 90s when a lot of homosexual men were first coming out in the AIDS epidemic, etc. And so it starts with talking about a guy named Raymond. What was Raymond's last name? I think Raymond Tyler. Yep. So it starts off talking about a guy named Raymond who was from small town in Alabama. Nice looking guy, very educated guy, ends up becoming an attorney, dated many beautiful women, but ends up realizing that he has a love for men through dating a couple of the athletes, you know, at the college that he was at. And it kind of talks about the struggle that he had coming out, not only to his family, but to society, and being accepted because he was, you know, this handsome, educated guy. But it is definitely a page turner. When I tell you, you won't be able to put this book down. and it's probably going to open you up to the 15 plus or more books that Lynn Harris has. But the first two, Invisible Life and the one after this, Just As I Am, they're just such great books. And Just As I Am is actually a big tearjerker. I don't want to say any more and really spoil it for you guys, but definitely a really, really good book. This is a good one to maybe take on vacation, take to the beach with you, and just if you want to just have a mental trip, because that's what reading is for me. It's a mental trip. It's a mental vacation. You know, it takes me somewhere. Okay. So this is definitely a really, really good one for you guys to get started with. I have probably recommended this book to like 15 plus or more people that have really, really enjoyed it. So definitely make sure you guys get this one. Also, when it comes to purchasing books, what I do, so I don't go to your typical bookstores. To me, they're too expensive. I don't care how much money I have, how much money I make. I'm always looking for a good deal. So what I do is I go to Amazon, because I'm the type of person, I like to actually have the hardback or the paperback. I like to have a physical copy of the book because, as I said, I generally read these books, you know, more than once. I'm not afraid to buy the used copy, okay? The used copy generally is going to save you some money. So that's always a good thing. And that's pretty much how I get my books. So you're not necessarily going to see me. If you do see me in Barnes and Nobles, or one of these bookstores, what I'm doing is I'm looking for a good book to read, and then I'm gonna hop right on Amazon and purchase it. All right. Lastly, we've got Reid Sing to Me. And so in the next session of this, because I'm actually, as I'm speaking to you guys about some of these different book titles, I'm thinking about more and more books that I've read in the past that I want to put you guys on, right? But Reid Sing to Me. So this is actually a book. I had went on a cruise maybe about 3 or 4 years ago, and I got really seasick. I've got a very sensitive stomach, so I got really seasick on this cruise that I went on, and I had this book with me, and I ended up finishing this book in just 2 days as I was sitting there seasick, not able to get out of the bed. And I was so blown away by Reid's story. Most of us are probably very familiar with Reid and some of the things that he did, but you know, he's known for just discovering and producing some of the greatest acts in history. Some of them are, you know, Toni Braxton, Kanye West, Rihanna, TLC, Mariah Carey. You know, I can go on and on and on. And so here in Atlanta, he started LaFace Records, which had a deal through Arista and Def Jam, and just has done so many things. But this is going to talk about his success story. And for me, I'm always like, I love reading people's success stories, because a lot of times, you know, you see people in their moment of success, but you don't know how they get there. And the story of how they get there is where the inspiration lies. The inspiration is not in seeing somebody in a Rolls Royce, not seeing somebody in a Bugatti or whatever the case may be. It's not seeing somebody in the $2 million home. The inspiration is, how did they get there, right? Because you were born just like me and you, okay? What did you do that was so different, or what did you overcome that helped you to be able to achieve these things, okay? Because that is what inspires us. That's what inspires us to keep going, all right? And so Reid, he went through some things. He overcame some things. This talks about his relationship with Kenny Babyface Edmonds and a lot of the things that they were able to do together, and just kind of takes you from A to Z when it comes to, you know, his story and what he was able to do. So once again, this is another good one as well. So I'm actually going to be doing more of these, because I get so many people hitting me up on YouTube, hit me up on Instagram, hit me up on my website, WhoIsSnoop.com, and always ask me, hey, what are the books that you read? You know, what are the books that you recommend? So there you go. 5 titles right there, guys. Always reading, always grinding, but most importantly, you know, always sharpening your mind and sharpening those tools.